Yo, what's going on, everyone? Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time for another killer Black Sabbath update. This one for October of 2024. Man, it's going to be a long one, as you could see. And I'm looking forward to it. And if you were asking, when am I going to hear some getting Black Sabbath? I think you're getting your answer right now. I suggest you go get a drink. As you can see by the length of this thing, you might as well settle in. And man, you know what? It's not February 13th, 1970. It's 2024. But I'll tell you what, it's an awesome time to be a Black Sabbath fan. It really is. There's so much out there to just keep you occupied with this band. Love it. Get yourself a beverage of your choice. I've got mine locked and loaded. Another edition, wall-to-wall, best band ever coverage coming at you. I'm going to try to get back to the themed drinks, all right? All right, so what do I got here? It's not just pumpkin beer, all right? In spirit of the new Tony Martin years, we've got Forbidden Pumpkin, all right? How am I going to pass that by? So let's see what's up with this. 9.3%. One thing I meant to do is try to figure out who this is from. The only thing I got here, oh wait, oh no, that's the art by. I don't have the brewery on here. Oh yes, maybe I do. Jesus God, I can't see that. Let's see, let's get the do off of there. I still can't tell. The way they wrote it, and it's in black and orange. Can you read that? It's right there. You can't read that? That's so clear. So let's get this thing percolating, and we'll get started with commercially available new releases. Guys, there were only really 3 to talk about up until a few hours ago when I just checked my email. And lo and behold, we've got a whole bunch of things to talk about. All right, let's get this thing settling. Wow, this looks like a winner. Whoa, and look at it. Oh, that is a 99 out of 100 pour there, I got to admit. And I like the little dandruff flakes floating around. That's got to be good news. All right, so we'll let that settle down. Let's get started. Commercially available new releases, and then I'll show you my new pickups in the commercial market. A lot of older stuff from Ozzy that I've never had, never even heard. So all these are pretty killer, actually. On the gray market, this came out, I think, in May. Ozzy's new, one of those Transmission Impossibles, 3 CDs. And I think I might have touched on it on the last Sabbath update. If not, I was initially very interested in it. And then next thing you know, we end up getting an official bootleg release of the main show in here. But disc 1, Bloomington, Minnesota, 1982, a soundboard, the only one that I don't have from Ozzy out of the 4 I think he's got. Rough sounding, but it is soundboard, okay? Kind of like tape warble wave going on thing. But pretty elusive. I think Shades put out a copy of this back in 2012. Howling Blizzard, I think it was the name of it. It was a 2 CD thing with some other amateur show. All right, so here you get that show in this package. And if that's not reason enough, you also got Ozzy in Japan, June 29, 1984, a soundboard show, 77 minutes. And disc 3 in this Transmission Impossible, the Tweeter Center, Camden, New Jersey, 2003. It was an Ozfest show. And it says it's 83 minutes. I didn't know discs could go beyond 83 minutes, but the full recording of that Ozfest show on YouTube is actually over 90 minutes. So it's slightly edited down. But cool little gray market package there for running around 25 bucks, roughly. And, you know, it's a very good deal, especially if you really want all 3 of those shows and you don't mind them not being standalones. There's your first new release. Second, Black Sabbath, 1970 debut on vinyl. This would be from Rhino. It's the second press out of 5,000, but this one's unnumbered. AAA cut from the original master tapes, Rhino's High Fidelity series. All right, the quote-unquote pinnacle of sound per Rhino, and sounds like they do a great job. I'm not a big vinyl guy, but 180 gram heavyweight vinyl, glossy gatefold jacket, and guess what, guys? This one's already sold out. It just came out 3-4 weeks ago. $40 is what it was going for. Another product on Rhino, Live Evil Atmos Blu-ray audio only, Blu-ray disc, Dolby Atmos, quote-unquote true HD 7.1 mix. And then, per Rhino, stereo 5.1 mix, all right, DTS HD audio. But item hype here and main menu state that it's simply a stereo 2.0 mix, okay? So not a 5.1 mix and a 7.1. It sounds like a 7.1 and then your basic 2.0 stereo. So there's some misinformation, I believe, on Rhino's website about that. The original 1982 mix was utilized here, not the 2023 versions that we got on the Live Evil Super Deluxe Edition. The few reviews I could find on this thing, all right, are that the 7.1 is poorly engineered and quote unquote a bullshit fake matrix mix. Sounds like me reviewing that. And the audience is heavy in the rear and pretty echoey, so it is technically a new mix coming out of that 82 mix. But since it is just from the 82 original version, not really anything you don't already have. Just sounds like new audience and echo added to make it sound sort of spectral sound. And a second reviewer called it, that 7.1 mix, quote unquote horrible, and that the engineer is incompetent. So that 7.1 mix you were probably hoping was going to be awesome. Not so much from the sounds of a couple of early reviews. However, one of those two reviewers call that 2.0 stereo mix a 2-channel masterpiece. So there's that. So again, so you need it, basically. I don't need it. I'm not into that Blu-ray audio stuff. I don't have a surround sound, so not really interested. I do have 2.0 though, so I guess it's a little tempting based on that one review. Now, these things just came out on Rhino today. Speaking of our new Tony Martin years, man, there's going to be some people pissed off about this. If you ordered this on vinyl, all right, Rhino just announced they're releasing each of those vinyl albums from 89 and 95. And these are going to have, according to Rhino's website, and they've been wrong before, as we just talked about, they will have the bonus tracks on them, which I don't think the vinyls did that came in the Anno Domini box set. So, and they're on clear vinyl and they're running about 25 hours a piece. I'm sure there's going to be some people not too happy about that. CDs are also being released separately, also $15 each, not too bad. Digipacks. And they do have the bonus tracks just like they did in the box set. So there's that. There's all your new commercial releases. Let's get to my latest commercial pickups. Wow, that's some easy drinking there. Looks really hoppy, being all, thick and all looking, but not so. Juicy. All right, so I just got Ultimate Sin about a year ago. I think I heard it once back in the day. Man, I just really turned my back on all my favorite bands when they were going glam and stuff. But really enjoyed Ultimate Sin, finally getting around to it. And let's get on to the next stage, right? No Rest for the Wicked, 1988. Now, this came up as there's a Japan used CD website I've been dealing with. Finding some good hookups on there. So that's where I was able to pluck this version from. Now I think this is I don't think this is like first press or anything. All right, but you get the whole Japanese lyric book and all. Here's what the disc. That's the nice price line. It's a Sony disc. Does have a bonus track on there, so that's kind of cool. Being The Liar. So cool little pickup there. I think it was like $12, So basically about what I'm going to pay to get it here, a domestic version. The only previous, I should have showed you this when I did that Blizzard of Oz, what was I calling it? Ultimate album version. I should have showed you this. But the only song I ever heard from No Rest for the Wicked, or I should say own, because what's on there? Miracle Man and Bloodbath in Paradise I heard. Tattooed Dancer, they were on that Philly Tower show from 89. I have that on video. But I have this Crazy Babies CD single, which no cover because it didn't come with a cover. Kind of cool. I think I listened to this song once, but of course the real reason you're buying this, you get the only digital version ever released of You Said It All. So that's pretty awesome. For sure. So I did hear this song once, I'm sure, when I first bought this, but that's been a while. So No Rest for the Wicked, looking forward to getting into that guy. Really need to check out that Tower show again. I know Geezer's there. Zach's first tour with Ozzy. They do War Pig, Sweet Leaf. Need to revisit that. It's a great Great show from what I remember. I haven't watched that in a few years. From the Tower Theater in Upper Darby, PA, just on the outskirts of Philly. One of only a handful of small venues that Ozzy played on that tour. He mostly played the usual large arenas, so I don't know if he just played that theater just for that recording that show, quite possibly. All right, on to the next stage. No More Tears, 1991. I forget how I acquired this first copy. Your US basic 1991 Epic label CD with 11 songs. And it was already on the way when that Japan website again came up with a copy, I think another $12 copy of No More Tears, this one with 2 bonus tracks. So the extras on here appeared on the US 2002 reissue. But here's going back to the source, I guess you could say. Probably that nice price line again, I'm going to imagine. Although I don't really see that on this one. This one says 1991 right on it. So this looks like the original Sony and another Obi strip tucked into there. So bonus tracks on this guy, Don't Blame Me and Party with the Animals. I'm sure they appeared on some other releases by now. So that looks pretty cool. 13-track version. There was also a 2021 30th anniversary digital only expanded version of that album. It's 2 hours, 25 songs altogether, demos, live stuff, etc. But best I can tell, it never had a physical release. And if anyone knows of any bootlegs of that, I'd just be curious to know if they're out there, because I've never come across one. Not that I'm like looking for it, but it just found that interesting that, you know, something like that could be out in the digital world and not made its way to bootlegs yet. But anyway, finally, one more to go over. Ozman Cometh. I've had this for years. All right. I love, you know, of course, those early Sabbath tracks that are on here. They were from the Friday Music Show with John Peel. But when I was looking at this a little while back, I realized I just printed out this cover. So I bought the real discs. It's kind of ringing a bell now I think about it. But I have the real discs, but I guess the guy didn't have a cover. So printed this offline, you know. It's the same exact cover. But anyway, that Japan used CD site had a copy of it on there for $12 or $14. So went and grabbed me Japanese Ozman Cometh 2 CDs, and this one actually has a couple more bonus tracks versus the US. Let's see, this has Fairies, Behind the Wall of Sleep, and an interview. And what do we got? Walk on Water and Pictures of Matchstick Men also added to disc 2 of Ozman Cometh. So rectifying that situation there, and I'll have, I guess, an extra Ozman Cometh maybe give away to one of you guys one of these days. Now finally the biggie, Black Sabbath. Tony Martin, Years, let's just call it, since I still don't know how to pronounce that damn thing. So I said I was going to wait till this thing dropped to $30 or under like they all do. But by July or August, man, I just couldn't wait anymore. I went and spent the $55. And then later on, it did in fact drop to like $35, but it didn't last long. For like a hot minute, sold out quickly once it dropped to that price, which is kind of weird because you drop the price while you have low stock. Usually not how it's done. You're usually trying to get rid of extra stock when you drop the price, but that's how it went down. The albums went down to $70 and now they are $100 again. Now at that point, why don't you just order those 4 albums separate and get the bonus tracks on them, right? On Rhino. So luckily, you know, who cares about the money? I picked this guy up and still looking sold out everywhere from the best I can tell. But let's talk about Anno Domini real quick, 1989 to 1995. And like I said, I'm planning a standalone episode where I'll get more in depth with it. We'll go track by track and things like that. But and also what I'm planning on doing when I do that, give you my 15 best songs by Tony Martin era, which will go back to Eternal Idol also. And I think it's going to doesn't necessarily have to shake down to 3 songs each album, but it's kind of just shaping up that way. It's just luck would have it. So for today, let's just go over some first impressions. You know, the box itself, nice, sturdy, kind of, you know, they're doing a good job with those these days, just in general, and Sabbath too, putting out quality, you know, product and everything. As far as the outer box, I like the black and gray cover. I like that they have those 4 album covers in just a black and gray version, although just that circular mini version sort of thing. But I think that's pretty cool. Nice and classy looking box. Now, the booklet, I haven't read it yet. I can't comment on the booklet. But the fact that it's not a hardback book, the first one in this series of, is this number 6 in this Super Deluxe editions, the 4 discs from Sabbath. The first one, as far as I remember off the top of my head, that's not a hardbound book. That's kind of lame, you know. Just wish that's really nice when you're holding something like that, that's all. The program, I think, is really cool. You know, especially it's something I never saw before, so I really kind of enjoyed thumbing through that. Not much to read in there, but it's still cool to just hold something like that you know, you really don't want to pay 30 or 40 bucks for to get a real full-size one online. I'm not a vinyl collector. If it was full-size in the vinyl box, that's cool if you're a vinyl guy. But the sound, let's talk about the sound on these real quick. Clearly the best sound on here is Forbidden. No surprise, Tony Iommi remixing it himself. I'd probably put Cross Purposes next. Sound on that one's pretty damn good. Full and rich. There's a little bit of variations in the levels, especially the bass, and you know, I'm listening to that pretty closely with Geezer being on there. And I'm noticing that I can really hear him good on some songs and not so much on others. Headless Cross and Tear. All right, if these are remastered, I would hate to hear the originals. And you know, I was originally thinking about holding out on this box to go get the originals just so they would be standalones and jewel cases and stuff. Well, man, I don't know. How could things sound worse than this? These are very thin sounding albums. It's like no damn bottom end, all right? I have to turn my bass up, but when you turn your bass up as much as you really need to for this album, these albums, it only adds bass kind of like to everything. It doesn't pump the bass guitar higher, you know. There's no boosting the bass no matter what you do, no matter what I tried at home. So, you know, without rendering the whole overall sound even worse, is what happened with me. And you know what? After going through this with both of these albums, walking over to my stereo and fiddling with the sound, you start thinking it's just you, okay? Till you throw another CD on and the sound just like knocks you the hell over, all right? So I actually went to a Steve Hoffman forum, which I was surprised they had a page on this, but they did. I've been looking for this Loverboy album. I know, here we go, talking about Loverboy and Sabbath. Just coincidentally, this is the album that I threw on right after listening to Tear, I think it was. And believe it or not, this original version is a Japan early press, and the sound is actually louder than the later represses. I know that's usually not the case. You had the volume wars in the 90s and all. This was the other way around. This original CD sounds louder. But not only loud, forget the volume, it just sounds fantastic. Threw it on right after I took Tear off, and holy shit, man, the sound like knocked me over. So powerful. This Loverboy CD destroys those two CDs in terms of sound quality. I'm just saying, man. The sound on those two albums is really thin. It doesn't help you like these CDs. I really think all 4 of them should have got a remix, especially these two, you know, just like Forbidden did, because that sounds great. And honestly, had I not thrown this on right away, I probably wouldn't realize how thin and weak those two albums are, you know. I know the band can't do anything to control engineering side of sound, you know. IRS Records, not exactly a huge label. So the sound on both of those really leaves something to be desired. And, you know, so as I said, if these are remasters, man, it is inferior sound. All right, so what about the music itself? Going in, I didn't know much about any of these records, all right? Headless Cross, the title track. That's all I knew off of that. And Black Moon. I think I had somehow downloaded that off of eBay years ago and heard it a few times. Tear, I knew nothing from Tear. This was completely new to me. Like, I knew nothing at all. Cross Purposes, 3 or 4 songs from Cross Purposes Live, and New Britain, Connecticut, 94 Bootleg. Each of them, I think, have 3 or 4 songs from that album. So those I knew. And then Forbidden, Get a Grip, and Illusion of Power. I'd heard each of those songs a couple of times up until I got the rough mix this past spring. So for now, here's my sort of ranking the albums, all right? With my limited exposure, I listened to each of these albums twice the last month, all right? And I really got a sense over the years reading a bunch of people's reviews of these 4 separate albums that the general consensus is that it's pretty evenly split among what people think is the best from this era. And each album sort of just has its share of fans. That's kind of what I noticed. So I guess you would say Forbidden pulling up the rear, all right? But still has a couple of fans out there. I think it's great. So I'm not totally surprised at all that I kind of think all 4 are actually pretty good albums. Now, I don't think any of them are fantastic, but I honestly kind of enjoy them all. Nothing really hands down best here to me, but I will give you my ranking right now, all right? My number 4 would be my least favorite one. Like I said, all 4 are very good. Not saying they're no good, just that this one's my least favorite, would be Cross Purposes from '94. Going in, I was never like big on these tunes, all right? It had that New Britain, Connecticut, and then DVD. I thought they were okay at best. First listen, no change in that opinion, really, honestly. Second listen, honestly, these songs started clicking with me a little bit. At least a few of them did, for sure. And I think this can be said for all 4 of these albums. There's very few like can't be missed songs. And there's also a couple of clunkers on every album, but overall they're pretty consistently in the good range. Maybe you could say very good on some of these songs for sure. All right. None of it measures up to classic Black Sabbath. It's pretty much that I knew. All right. I mean, we wouldn't go 30 years without the word spreading that there was some really awesome stuff in here, I know probably some people think this era is awesome. Come on, get real. It's not awesome. Awesome is volume 4. All right, this is not awesome. None of it is. Cross Purposes, I would say no exception to that generalization of this era. It's pretty good. Just my least fave, not necessarily a whole lot worse than the other 3 albums, to be honest with you. Really kind of steadily, consistently decent to good, some songs very good throughout this whole era. Geezer Butler really kind of helps the proceedings here. Listening to him play bass just is really fun. The songs where you can hear him clearly, because there's some songs where you just can't. My number 3 choice is Headless Cross, probably the poppiest one of the bunch, at least on a few songs here where the keyboards are pretty prominent, and what the keyboards are doing isn't exactly my style, not really something cool, just sort of something to go along with the guitar. And for Sabbath, doesn't really sound awesome to my ear. Despite that, it's a pretty consistently good album. I hate to keep saying the same thing over and over. The title track is the best song Tony Martin ever did with Sabbath, in my opinion. Several other good to very good songs on here. In fact, most of them fit that description, actually. But there are a few on here that I think sound, dare I say, kind of remind me of like Europe, sort of keyboard and guitar, where the guitar is heavy, but the keyboard's just as loud as it, so not doing something heavy, doing something a little more in the pop vein. A couple of songs on there. But, overall, it's probably just a little more because I'm probably ranking it ahead of Cross Purposes because it's just a little newer to me. So maybe it's just that. I think they're about equal overall. They're both decent. Forbidden comes in number 2 for me from 1995. Now, some of these songs, kind of similar to some of the songs on Cross Purposes, where they're kind of a little offbeat, I kind of like that. Changing things up a little bit in terms of some of these rhythms. They're choppy and off time and stuff, and they're kind of a little weird to hear the first time, and once they grow on you, they're kind of cool. So there's some songs on here, maybe they were left over from Cross Purposes. They remind me of some Cross Purposes songs. Overall, this album to me really smacks of the band just saying, hey, let's stop making the album people expect us to make, and let's just take the gloves off and just go for it with something different here. And now, maybe that wasn't even the band, that was actually Ernie C. and IRS. I don't know, but it's the one that they ended up making, regardless of how it came about. And having that metal guitarist, rap metal guitarist, Ernie C. in charge, maybe he's the one who pushed them into these other directions, but it's not necessarily a rap metal sounding album at all to me. In my opinion, that whole thing's just overblown. I mean, what's he singing on that? Illusion of Power, he's singing for like 10 seconds. I mean, it's literally 1% of this record. It's probably only 2% of that song, like not a big deal that there's a rapper on the first song. I mean, Tony Martin's rapping in that song. I love that song, Illusion of Power. I think it's really pretty good. to me, overall, it sounds like a fresh approach to the song structures here on not every case, but a good amount of it. And I kind of like it. It's changing things up. And several great songs. There's several great songs on all these, and we'll go over that on the full review. So my favorite album so far in here is Tear, the one I heard nothing from going in. And, you know, I just think it's consistently good throughout. Something you can't say about any of these other albums. Several very, very good songs, all right? Kind of short and to the point, but it's just solid. And, you know, I guess maybe it's about even versus Forbidden, but since this one's completely new to me, I'm a little more interested in this one, and maybe that's just why I have it number one. But I think it's the most consistently good start to finish Tear. So there you go. Full review coming soon. We'll do a track by track, but that's just my first impressions with the box. Give you my best of the Martin era when we do that review, all right? The 15 song greatest hits they should have released. The Tony Martin Years CD that should have came out. And I'll make a playlist out of it, something you can click on and listen to. And I'll probably scramble up the order, but right now it's shaping up to be 3 songs from each album. But not that I think I wasn't going for that. I wasn't going for just 3 songs from each album. I was going for the 15 best songs, and it's just kind of shaking out to be 3 from each. So let's get to some Sabbath news. First, the ballet, if you're interested in that, or even if you're not. The initial run by the Birmingham Royal Ballet was last fall, about a year ago. The first shows outside of the US were in the UK, Europe of 2024 in spring. The only US show apparently is going to be still Kennedy Center, Washington, D.C., June 4th to the 8th. I think there's 7 shows altogether. Wednesday through Sunday, there are 2 shows on Thursday and Saturday. So tickets will be going on sale in January for that. Now I think season ticket holders get first dibs on them. So not sure if there will be anything even available in January to the general public. Guys, I realize a lot of you may think that the ballet is, well, in the interest of being politically correct, we'll say corny. I probably would have used a different word a few years ago. If you're a metalhead, I'm not going to change your mind about that. But to the rest of you, you should really take advantage of pretty much a once-in-a-lifetime thing here happening. So I'm going to try my best to get there just to do it, you know. I've been to like 4 or 5 ballets the last 10 years, although it's been years. And, you know, it's kind of like watching Olympic gymnasts dance to a live orchestra, really. That's how I look at it. And if the orchestra is going to be playing Sabbath tunes, it just might be a cool thing to experience. That's all I'm saying. There's a light show and all. It's a little more interesting than you might think, but my asshole will be there if at all possible. All right, Ozzy farewell shows. Remember those? Supposedly 1 or 2 shows, Aston's Villa Park Stadium, Ozzy's big sort of goodbye to his fans. We were being teased earlier this year. Well, here's the latest. There's no news. I haven't heard a damn word about that. All right, now I haven't looked into it in the last week or 2, but nothing on my radar. All right, which is actually in a good way. Good news, all right, because the focus seems to have shifted to a Black Sabbath farewell. Involving the 4 original members, those being Bill Ward, Bill Ginward, and Bill Ward. All right, that's all we care about. Getting his ass involved in some way to finish this up, and that's all that matters. That his asshole's there, right? So word has it that it's in the works. Something's going to be done to be a farewell, a proper farewell, proper send-off to these guys, all right? Which follows up on Ozzy's comments earlier this year and this summer. Ward's more recently. Geezer and Tony not opposed to the right situation, where all parties basically at this point want to do something to put sort of an exclamation point on everything that involves the original band. All right, no details yet, nothing in stone yet, but sounds like something will happen, which we're all glad to hear because, yeah, they're older and they're frail, but let's face it, anything beats nothing, right? The whole crux of this reunion gig or gigs talk being that doing that final tour in 2016, 2017 didn't include Ward, and basically now suddenly, 8 or 9 years is leaving them unsatisfied. It's just, I just gotta laugh. I'm sorry. In my opinion, all right? You're so unsatisfied that it takes you a decade later before you start asking why Bill wasn't there. Like, what are these guys on drugs? Let me rephrase that. What's going on? Are these guys crazy or something? When us fans were asking that back in 2013, Yam came out, 2016, the End Tour, you know, we're getting all these deflecting responses like, well, you're going to have to ask Bill yourself. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Right? I mean, all this deflection, basically, us fans were trying to let them know this is bullshit. Like, this is not the way to do this, you know? I'm not going to say there shouldn't be any concern at all, you know, when Bill Ward has this heart history, but in my opinion, it was way overblown. They've been overblowing that situation since 99, to be honest, even 97, I guess. Going back to 99, they had Vinny Appice backstage as insurance. That's fine, but did you need to like make that public knowledge? Was that really necessary? I had no idea that was the case until like I read my reunion program years later. So I just feel like it's just been overdone, all right? I saw Bill with Sabbath in 99, 2003, 2005. Any ability that he might have lost, which is pretty minimal, honestly, far outweighed by the fact that his ass was in that drum throne. That was Black Sabbath, all right? End of story. As it should have been, again, later on. I think it's a pretty kind of sad statement, you know, regarding how business-minded these guys get when they do a reunion album without one of the original members. Then they do a farewell tour, you know, without them. And you know what? Pretty much the only people who thought it was okay at the time were the band themselves. The only people complaining about it now. You know, it's just kind of crazy. So the 13 album, speaking of that and that tour, and you know, in further hindsight is 2020 news coming from the band, Ozzy, Tony, both suddenly, this is what, 9 years later, 11 years later, right? Not happy with Rick Rubin and how 13 sessions went and how the album came out. Ozzy again wondering, why was this done without Bill Ward? You just gotta laugh, man. I just can't contain myself. These guys don't even make any sense, all right? He's voiced the same before about that situation too, a year or two ago. Is this a Twilight Zone episode with these guys or what, you know? I mean, can we all just collectively say, we told you so? I mean, am I missing something? These guys are the band. They don't have to do or anything they don't want to do, right? Last I checked. But it seems like, I guess they signed contracts saying they do it, and then if they're having any second thoughts along the way, it's too late, I guess, all right? I'm just conjecturing there, I don't know. Bill should have done the 13 album and both tours, but at the very least, he could have definitely did the End Tour, all right? Because they dropped all 4 songs from the 13 album for that 2016 farewell tour, all right? Didn't replace them with anything, by the way, either, as far as I know. It became a 70s greatest hits tour. You're calling it the final tour. Get his ass back there behind the drums. I don't care what you got to do. That should have been their attitude. I don't know why we had to tell them that at the time. Not that they were listening, as we all know. So forgive me if I find all this revisionist, scratching your head, Monday morning quarterbacking bullshit totally ridiculous, but it is. There. Got that out. The 13 album. Let's talk about this album for a minute. I don't think I've ever talked about it too much on this channel, so let's get into this lenticular discussion. All right, and this is the version with the 4, I guess it was Best Buy bonus tracks. I think there's a version out there with the 3, and was there a 5th? I don't think so. I don't know. Part of me thinks so, but I'm not sure about that. As for 13, I really like this album a lot. As good as any album, I think. This is what I said at the time when it first came out. It's as good as anything we could have expected from these guys at that point. All right? By the way, does anyone else have a version that skips? I have a song or two that skip on this thing. And it skips in my car and in my house in the same spots. Kind of annoying. Just wondering about that. And I haven't heard this album in years until about 4 or 5 days ago. Man, I love this record. I really do. Yeah, some of these songs sound like they're just stolen from old Sabbath songs. End of the Beginning sounds like a little like Black Sabbath. And what was the one? Something sounds like Planet Caravan. The 4th song, just like Planet Caravan's the 4th song on Paranoid. The 4th song on this one sounds like Planet Caravan. I don't know. That's kind of the end of the direct comparisons for me, but other people have brought up some others. You know, I just don't really, when you're stealing your own songs, who really cares? I mean, it doesn't sound exactly like it. It does sound borrowed from it or close. There's a lot of other parts in both of those songs that don't sound anything like the ones they sound like. Man, overall, I just really just love how distinguishable Geezer's bass is. I think the songs are pretty rockin'. I like that there's all kinds of little parts thrown into these songs. It was like a really well arranged album, I guess you could say, where these interchangeable little parts, you know, that reminds me of old Sabbath. You know, the songs didn't just start with one rhythm. Songs like Paranoid were really few and far between with Sabbath. Changes in rhythms, changes in tempos, that's old school Sabbath, and there's a lot of that here. I just really love the damn thing. Probably hasn't been as clearly heard for an entire album since Paranoid, Geezer's bass on here. It's just right up front, you can hear every damn note. Really sounds good. Lots of heavy songs, of course, but you got that bluesy, I think Damaged Soul might be the bluesy one. Zeitgeist, I think, is that spacey, sounds like a Planet Caravan song. Of course, lots of heavy stuff. End of the Beginning's killer. God is Dead is cool. Age of Reason's awesome. This album just kicks ass to me. And I stand by what I said. The best album you could have expected from these guys at this point. And here would be a good head-to-head. Here's something I thought of when I was listening to it. Which is better? Different Kind of Truth by VH or this one? They're both so good. Such good comeback records, man. Not sure which is the better one. They're just really both great. Lots of Monday morning quarterbacking from these guys from the Sabbath camp. As for the complaints about the final product of 13, no complaints here. Sounds like another Never Say Die sessions that they didn't like or clouding the opinions of the music. That's just what I think. Merch news. Holy crap, there's a ton of it. Ozzy had his own line of products on Fright Rags, normally a horror website, apparel site. Check out this cool Raglan t-shirt. Ozzy in a pool of blood. That looks pretty cool. There's a guitar pick collection. Man, Ozzy's an awesome guitar player, if you guys weren't aware of that. There's a sticker set, patch set, a plain version of that earlier Prince of Darkness Raglan, an Ultimate Sin Raglan. This one looks pretty awesome. And a plain version of the same one. Bark at the Moon, a plain t-shirt, or a blue sleeved Raglan. That looks pretty awesome. Why does pretty much every rock concert tee look cooler as a 3/4 sleeve? All right, they just do. All right, and head over to Fright Rags if you guys are interested in any of that. Sabbath themselves, their official website, Workington, England, August 30th, 1969. Limited edition t-shirt. You were only able to order this for 1 week, the end of August there, honoring the first gig as not Earth, but Black Sabbath. Probably the third different date that I've heard as being the date that they became Black Sabbath. I think it was originally the day after they recorded The Rebel, August 16th, 17th, 18th, something in there. I think at one point I heard that it was the 19th, which is still possible, who knows. But now Sabbath officially calling it August 30th, the day they named the band, or the day of the first gig as Black Sabbath. So maybe they did change the name a week or two earlier. First show, August 30th. So pretty cool design. I like that they have that planet Earth on back, laying the name Earth sort of between the lines there. And I'd feel kind of lame wearing this though, because unless I was actually there, I avoid shirts that have a specific date on them. That's just me. I happen to be wearing one that's Madison Square Garden from the End Tour. And I was at that show. So that's great when you're there and it has the date, but kind of a little weird to be wearing a date shirt that you weren't at. I believe there was a 1 week order window, like I said, 55th anniversary as the first gig of Sabbath. More new stuff on the band's official website. If you missed that, you got plenty of other options. Volume 4's release anniversary from 1972. I think that was September 25th. There's one new item, and it's pretty awesome, and it's sold right out. Long sleeve tee, very cool, two-sided. Already gone though, which kind of sucks. There's a Volume 4 in light purple hoodie, two-sided. Not sure I like the Volume 4 in purple though. Back is different, but I don't really love this one. Now, I don't think I saw this one before. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath hoodie, that's pretty awesome. Yet another hoodie, Angels hoodie, kind of cool. Master of Reality, Trippy Skull Tee. Love the back on that one. That's pretty decent. A Witch crew neck sweatshirt. Pretty classic, simple old first album design. Love that one. Santa, you taking notes? Embroidered Master of Reality hoodie. Pretty cool in purple. Nothing on the back though, one-sided, but it's still cool. Sometimes I prefer one-sided. In this case, I do. Self-titled black hoodie. Tie-dye hoodie. Not a fan of this myself, but nice to have one tie-dye option here. And there are some Marvel, the movie Iron Man options, incorporating the band into them. And finally, with winter upon us, you get sort of seasonal merchandise. I have to tell you this quick story. My cousin and I used to get together at my aunt's every Christmas, and we'd be downstairs listening to music and hanging out. Parents were upstairs. And at one point, me and my cousin walked upstairs, and I was wearing like a sweater, like a regular sweater. And he was just so used to seeing me in concert tees that my Uncle Bill, yes, another Bill, he said, this is kind of funny, surprised it doesn't say Black Sabbath somewhere on it, looking at my sweater. So, Uncle Bill, here you go. For you, the Black Sabbath sweater, just in time. I know they've done some of these before specifically for Christmas. This one's basically just a simple Black Sabbath sweater. All right, that's enough about the merchandise. Let's unbox some Japan bootlegs, all right? 3 items. 2 of them are Sabbath, as far as I know. And let's unbox them first, and then we'll get to the new release news. So let's start out from what it looks to be RZ. I ordered just one thing. And I took the vinyl out of those back there. So let's take another shot. See if I can hit. Do I want to hit any of those? I don't want them falling to the floor. So we'll just do a light toss. But this one, a DVD. I told you I ordered this. We just did a video episode a few weeks ago. Told you I ordered this one. And here it is. Sabbath Download 2005 DVD-R. I think it's no label, if I remember right. That's what it looks like. Pro shot. 93 minutes on this guy. Let's take our cellophane off, or whatever they call this wrapper. Get a look inside. I think there's nothing really inside, at least on my last one. Reminds me of the Rock Wave. But yep, that's it. Just a simple front cover, and the back cover I showed you, and there's your DVD-R. All right, another show. This one will be June 11th. That download was June 23rd, so roughly 2 weeks earlier. I think we have virtually the same set list. I see Sleeping Village, Children of the Grave there. That's cool. What was the other killer one? The Wizard is on here. So that's pretty awesome. So checking that out. We'll talk about that next time. What's in this other box? This looks like, I don't know. I'll be trying to find my way to shore, if you know what I mean. A couple of these things are non-Sabbath. I'll toss them aside for another show. We'll be doing a bootleg episode coming up. All right. All right. So a couple for later. Cool. And forget that transmission bullshit. All right. Bloomington 1982 from Ozzy. We're on Zodiac. So now, like I said, the sound's a little funky on this. You can hear this on YouTube. Kind of a warped sound a little bit on the tape, okay? But so what? Still want to hear it. And I've only heard like the first 4 or 5 songs out. I've never heard the whole show, so never got through it on YouTube. That'll be cool. A couple new pickups there. Let's go down the new release news, and then I'll show you my other bootleg pickups. They're not new releases, but still cool stuff. Ozzy Bloomington 1982 soundboard on Zodiac. I just showed it to you. It's 76 minutes. Next up, Ozzy Toronto 2003, a 3 CDR on Shades. Guys, this is one show. What's noteworthy about this especially, well, a couple things. You got Jason Newsted on bass, his limited sort of time with Ozzy. Caught a show there. It's an audience tape. Almost a 3-hour show. I never knew Ozzy did a show longer than 90 minutes. And here we have one that's like somewhere like 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm blown away by this, man. He was like a 75, 80 minute show guy. I don't know where he pulled this show, man, out of his ass, but man, that's pretty interesting. And there's a lot of Sabbath stuff in there. It's a cool show for sure. Ozzy at the Palladium, 1981, second show. This is the second press. We're on Zodiac. It's an audience recording. And encapsulate all that Palladium stuff with 1981, the video on Shades, DVD-R that runs 50 minutes. Obviously some incomplete songs. Early shows from the front row, then you got some late show rather, fewer songs on it, but I'm going to assume a different viewpoint, but that's synced with the audio from the CD, so that's kind of a cool title to have, for sure. Now some Sabbath. Dehumanizing Switzerland, 2 CD, 1 DVD-R on Shades, audience recording from September 14th of 92 at Winterthur, back in stock with this one, not a new release. The DVD, Dehumanizing the Netherlands, is from 3 days later, September 17th of 92. 99 minutes, amateur shot. Here's an awesome title on Empress Valley. Black Sabbath, Sabotage Live, 1975. 4 CDs, silver press from Empress, of course. Mike Mullard's Long Beach Arena show from September 7th. And then Dan Lampinski's Providence, Rhode Island show, August 3rd. Very cool way to get both of these shows. Black Sabbath DVD-R, download 2005. I just showed you that guy. No label. Pro Shot 93 minutes. It's from Donington Festival, June 11th, 2005. And sold out right away on RZ. RZ doesn't keep anything in stock, man. Those bastards. Yeah, you see it, you get it. All right, that's how it works with that damn site. Definitive Tokyo 1980 soundboard. Now this has been out, and I don't know if this sold out and it's like a second press. I'm not seeing second press written anywhere, but multiple sites are touting this as like a new release the last couple months. And even a guy I work with who's not on a website. So I don't know. I'm just going to assume it's like a back-end press kind of thing. It's on Zodiac, Nakano Sun Plaza, November 18th of 1980. This is supposed to be the soundboard from the show. This show has an audience tape out there, and this show also has an FM broadcast out there. So, all right, that's the deal. This is supposed to be the soundboard. But be aware, sometimes they call these FM broadcast soundboard. I'm going to assume that we're getting the soundboard from Zodiac. They know the difference, and they would tell you the difference. All right, my 5 other recent bootleg pickups, besides that Bloomington and besides that Download Festival. Here's what we got. Man, when it rains, it pours sometimes, okay? I was looking for 15 years for Shockwave over Texas and came across it earlier this year, April or so. It was $55 on eBay, all right? But I came across one for $18, I think, on the Japanese used website, all right? Snapped it right up. And what's cool about this guy is if you look on this back cover, we are one of the original 300, all right? That's pretty awesome. Now, the other official copy I had has the same exact cover, as do a lot of these. They're just usually just not numbered at all. This one is number 99. So I was able to hook up my boy Larry with my other copy. He's been hooking me up with stuff. That's how it works around here. All right, scratch each other's backs. He gets my other copy of Shockwave over Texas, the elusive bootleg from, is it Abilene? And December 7th of 78. Great show. Ozzy's on his last legs. Bullshit. Listen to this one. Change your opinion. Next up, Studio Outtakes 1969. This is a real fun listen, and I hate to use a general kind of word like that, but this one and also Studio Outtakes for 70 and 71. I haven't heard the second disc on this one yet, but I just listened to 1970, or disc 1 of this 2 CD set, which does go into 71 actually. This disc 1 so far, this entire disc, whole disc of the Rebel Sessions, all right? So, and then you also got Evil Woman Sessions. So half of the disc is both of those 2 songs. And then Sabbath, first album Sessions. Man, just a fun listen. They just are. If you're a Sabbath nut, it's like sitting in a chair behind the console. Just listen to the band run through multiple takes of these songs. Maybe half of them are false takes where they stop. Sometimes they stop in 10 seconds. Sometimes they get a minute or 2 in. Sometimes it's just studio chatter. But then you do get full versions almost all the time, all right? So it's really kind of cool getting some false takes and then a full take. It's just awesome. You know, I can't say any of the versions on here are going to replace your other versions. I think the deluxe editions did a good job of plucking out the best outtakes as alternate takes / outtakes. The ones on here, a couple of them are close. Some of them might sound like they're even the ones that are on the deluxe editions, but we get some alternates from even compared to those deluxe editions. And man, it's just fun listening. I just sat there listening to these with like a grin, man. Just like a little more of a warped sound on that guitar solo on the song Paranoid by Tony. You know, little subtle things here and there. The guitar tone sounds a little different. There's one tune from Astro Reality where they added some kind of little keyboard thing in the background. It's just subtle, but it's clearly heard, and that didn't make the final album. Little things like that really make it awesome. Both of those CDs on Zodiac. Of course, these came out in the spring. Fantastic. Zodiac, title number 666, studio outtakes 1969. Greatness there. Let's take a look at the discs if you haven't seen them. You're about to. There's the one. The other one looks exactly like that. Cool covers, little pictures of the singles. All right, and 70 and 71. They look exactly the same. The Vertigo swirl, but of course it's done in like a gold and black as opposed to white and black. So that's kind of a nice little tweak. And just the album pictures on that guy. And nothing much in the back of this one. But man, they're awesome. They've been fun to listen to. Although I've only listened to the first one once and not even through the second one yet. I don't know, man. Where does the damn time go? You're just going to be like a kid in a candy store listening to this. That's the best way to put it. All right. Rockwave 2005, I already showed you. Or did I show you that? No, I showed you in the video episode, right? So this was great. I did a little review of that on the last video episode, okay? Great show. Ozzy's voice kind of falters by the end of the show, but only at the very end. You know, he's pretty good throughout and entertaining as hell, running his ass off around the stage. Great one. The sound, can't hear the audience too much. Total soundboard. You do get great performances, and this is probably the longest set list I saw Sabbath do in the reunion era. All right, get the instrumental thing with Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath in there. What else is really cool? Oh, Symptom of the Universe is the same way, just an instrumental, but the full version of The Wizard and Sleeping Village, really awesome. Kind of love that. And then last but not least, was able to find this for, I think it was $16 used. 2 CD, Definitive Hollywood Bowl 2016. It's soundboard. I wasn't really that interested in it. I'd really love to get a 13 tour soundboard. I haven't seen one of those yet, but settle for this one from 16, okay? Just talking all about that tour. Damn same set list everywhere. Not missing nothing there. This is a Zodiac product. All right, double CD, and there's cool looking CDs there, huh? But what's really cool about this, I'm looking forward to this more than the main show. They have the sound check on there, which I paid to be a VIP to this tour, all right? And that was pretty much the highlight, getting to go in and watch that sound check. And it's the same exact set list from the one I saw. So not the same show, but same set list, and I'm down with that. You get Sweet Leaf, Iron Man, and Bass and Symptom of the Universe, just instrumental, intro to all that stuff. So awesomeness there. For $16, yeah, I'll take it, all right? I wasn't going to shell out $35 or $40 for this, but at 16, why the hell not? All right, so 10 more mandatory boots. We're going to wrap it up. Time for Volume 3, 1982 to 1984. They're all soundboards. We left off around the spring of 82. Let's pick up there. First up is Ozzy Osbourne Ritz, 1982 complete, 2 CDs. You get the entire shows from what would become the Speak of the Devil album. Although, of course, that album had dubbed over vocals, so here you're getting the raw live vocals. Sound quality is as good as the album Speak of the Devil. Just fantastic hearing the actual real show. That just might be one of my favorite bootlegs of all time, just because it's the real thing of a fake vocal album. But I love the album anyway, so the music sounds the same and the quality is A1. Next, let's move into spring of 83, US Festival for Ozzy. Jake's first show, soundboard quality, May 29th. All right, San Bernardino, California. You also get a bonus DVD with this. Every time I see it online, it comes with that bonus DVD. The DVD's not the full show. I think the CD is. The DVD is about 70% of it. So pretty cool to have both of those. Of course, sticking with spring of '83 era, we're going to go with the Manor tape from Sabbath. Got to have those rough versions. Different mix, and I like the mix better on at least 3, maybe 4 of the songs that would be on Born Again. This is my version on Legendary Masters. This also has With the Mass on it, but I'm showing you this for the Manor tape, which is the Born Again sessions. Just a different mix, okay? Now, summer of '83. I don't have the bootleg. I know there's one out there, but I would call this a rarity, I guess you'd say. It's on the deluxe edition of Born Again, the Reading Festival. So the first show with Ian Gillan in the band. And of course, it's only about half the show on here, unfortunately. But that's all the BBC was able to air, and that's all that it sounds like exists still. I think they only had rights and access to these songs. So, but pretty cool. Is it August 27th? All right, 1983, Reading Festival. Got to get that. And I really need to get that bootleg. It's supposed to be a little longer, like some of the radio intro and outro stuff, and improved sound. Sound is decent on that deluxe edition, but I've heard it's improved. Ozzy in summer and fall outtakes from Bark at the Moon. This is on a label. I've only ever seen this label for these 2 releases I'm about to show you. Cannonball. Double CD, outtakes, just alternate takes really. I don't think there's anything on here that wasn't on the album or the bonus tracks, okay? So some nice juicy stuff in there. You want to hear some parts that have keyboards on the record and don't have them here, vice versa. All right, things like that happening on those outtakes. Now, even cooler, I think, is the rough mix. All right, sound quality's better on this one, and the versions are still a little different from what would be on the final album. So even though it sounds like it's just a final mix virtually, it's not really. Some of these things sound quite different than the record. Ozzy's Bark at the Moon rough mix. Then on to Definitive Paris. What is this? September 30th of '83. This is a very much improved bootleg from Sabbath versus their 10-year-old version that was floating out there. And you get some songs on this one that aren't on the other 2, the Reading Festival or on the With the Mass show. Okay, namely Rock and Roll Doctor and Disturbing the Priest, the drum solo leading into that, and Supernaut. All right, that whole 4-song stanza there. So this definitely worth seeking out. Forget your Euro lines, go with Definitive Paris. And then to follow that up in November, here we are, With the Mass, November 4th of '83. This is one of my favorite bootleg shows of all time too. All right, I really should do that sometime. Favorite bootlegs of all time across all bands. And just a great one. Some of those songs I just mentioned that are on Paris are not on here, but you get a lot of others that aren't on Paris. So this is a great show. Sound quality is excellent. And I just love how Gillan does Ozzy. You know, I think he does it great. Does it better than Dio does. And then a couple of shows from Ozzy to wrap up 1984. They're both in Japan. One from June 29th, we mentioned earlier, as part of that Transmission Impossible. If you want to get it that way. We're live at Kasuga Kaiken, Japan, Tokyo, June 29th, like I mentioned. And there's another show from the Kanosun Plaza, July 6th of '84. You get them both on Ultimate Barks, 2 CDs on Zodiac. You win, I win, we all win. This is a great one. Ozzy's like drunk as hell on one of these shows. I mean, he doesn't sound bad singing, but when he's trying to get the crowd going into like a shout along kind of thing, it's great. Come on, you dumb cunts. It's just classic Ozzy, man. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. The monster of a show. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you're watching this long, God bless you. How have you been looking at this sad thing all this time? Go out and get your Forbidden Pumpkin. This is a juicy one, though, even though it looks nice and cloudy and rich and thick and all that shit. It's juicy and easy to drink. Forbidden Pumpkin, I just wish I could... Your brewery name is even more forbidden because you really can't make it out. Maybe that was on purpose. Guys, catch us all later.